Hello, hello, hello. I am here finally on time, early in fact, to talk about UFC 256 happening this Saturday. This is my prediction video, and I am super stoked for this card. This card is super stacked. Even though we were supposed to have two championship fights instead of just the one, we're not seeing the Petr Yan against Aljamain Sterling. I know something happened with Petr Yan, so someone let me know what that was. But either way, the card is still super stacked, and I'm really excited for it. So let's go ahead and get into this. I'm only going to give my predictions for the main card right now, but please be looking out for my other social media platforms for other picks, and also one important renege that's going to be on this main card because I'm still going back and forth right now, even though I'm about to give my picks. So let's go ahead and get into it. It's coming from Las Vegas. First up, I'm picking Junior Dos Santos to beat Cyril Gane. Now, Cyril Gane is going to be much bigger than Dos Santos, so I think his cardio is going to be pushed here. JDS has a much higher level of experience. He's a former champion. He's fought a much higher level of competition this entire time. He has more diversity in his skills. However, at 36, most heavyweights would be in their prime, but Junior Dos Santos has gone through so much the wars, the battles. He's like 46 in fight years. So Cyril will have that age on him, even though he's 30. I just think this might be a little bit too much too soon. However, I'm not quite sure. You know how it is with the heavyweights. One punch can end it at any time, and JDS, he does not have the chin that he used to have. However, I am sticking with the vet for now, picking JDS to beat Cyril Gane. Now, next up, I just totally blanked on the order. Oh, got it. It's so stacked. I'm choosing Kevin Holland to beat Jacare Souza. And yeah, okay, so Kevin Holland is one of my ones to watch. Of course, Jacare Souza, he's one of my guys. Love Jacare Souza, love his personality, love his fighting style. Kevin Holland, surprisingly, is actually a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Travis Lutter, who's under the Machado family, who's under the Gracie family. So it's a very strong lineage of black belts there. And as we know, all black belts are not created equally. So he has a very high level one. However, Jacare Souza, I still believe, has a higher level with his black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. I just think that he is more practiced in that art. I think he just has more ways, he has more experience. So I don't think that Kevin Holland should mess around with him on the ground. As far as his wrestling, I do think Kevin Holland's wrestling is a little bit underrated, but so is Jacare. I think Jacare might be a bit thicker. However, Kevin Holland is about 2 inches taller, and he's got a 9-inch reach advantage. And I looked on several sites, 8 to 9-inch reach advantage with the hands. I was kind of shocked by that. So he has those uneven proportions. On the feet, about a 1 to 2 inch reach advantage, and again, he's about 1 to 2 inches taller. So he should keep this on the feet because he seems to be extremely well-rounded. I do think he'll be a bit faster than Jacare as well. So work behind a jab. Let's see what you've been doing on the feet. Tear apart his lead leg. I do think you can get this fight. He's on quite a little winning streak. The test that we throw in front of him, he seems to pass them every time. So will this be the time that Kevin Holland finally has a little setback and let's go back to the drawing board here against Jacare Souza, the vet, who I think, again, might be a little bit thicker. I do think he has the advantage on the ground just due to his experience alone. On the feet, we know that he does have an underrated stand-up game. He does have one-punch knockout power. He does have a jab. He does have some kicks there too. So again, this will not be an easy win for Kevin Holland at all. He'll have to kind of fight one of his best fights, but I'm here to see if he will rise to the occasion. So I'm going with Kevin Holland, but but that's actually not the one I'm going back and forth the most on. The one I'm going back and forth the most on is this one. And I'm choosing Renato Moicano to beat Rafael Fiziev again. I know Renato has faced a higher level of competition for a little bit longer. Although Fiziev, he is one of those, you can't let him get started first. He's like a downhill snowball. As he gets going, he's extremely harder to stop, and he starts fast. He starts early. He will have the punching power advantage. Renato is a bit longer in his height and his reach as far as the hands and the feet. I do believe he's better on the ground as far as not only his wrestling, but with his submissions as well. I think he's smarter on the ground. So if he gets in trouble on the feet, you should go for the takedown. Take this down to the ground. However, you are a bit longer. And you do have underrated power, kind of unassuming power. And I'm not quite sure who's going to be faster. So if Renato was faster, you might want to play around on the ground, tear apart his lead leg, but you have to be first, Renato. you have to be first. Because again, I think Fiziev is going to have the punching power, and he is just kind of that controlled chaos. I think you're going to have better cardio. However, Fiziev does not have bad cardio. I just think you might have better cardio. I'm really going back and forth on this one. I'm going to have to see how they've been training. I'm going to have to see how they look on the weigh-ins. So this is the one. Be looking out on my other social media platforms to see if I renege. This would be the one. But for right now, I'm choosing Renato Moicano to beat Rafael Fiziev. Now, co-main event, and we are seeing Tony Ferguson finally back in the octagon taking on Charles Oliveira. I actually think this is going to be a fun fight. I think both of these men really respect each other. Let's talk about Charles Oliveira because he's ranked a little bit lower there. This is a great opportunity for him. If he gets this win, he can start barking for that that title shot, which he's been working towards. I feel like we've been watching Charles Oliveira for a long time. I believe he's 31 years old. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. He's a third-degree black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and yes, you can see it. He holds the record for the most submissions. He's very creative with his submissions, relentless with his submissions. He will come at you with many different angles. So I would say Tony Ferguson, who's also a black belt in Planet Jiu-Jitsu. I know I said that all the way wrong. Help me out there with that one. But he a black belt too. Y'all on Eddie Bravo, y'all know what I'm talking about. And obviously one of the most creative fighters on the feet and on the ground. But I would still say that Charles Oliveira, that's just his wheelhouse as far as the jiu-jitsu, the grappling, and the submissions on the ground. Now, as far as wrestling, Tony Ferguson, you might actually have a advantage there as far as the wrestling on the ground. And as far as who's bigger, who's going to be thicker, we'll see when I think you guys are you're very similar in size. Tony Ferguson's only about an inch taller, about an inch reach advantage. That's about it. So we'll see who's going to be thicker once we actually see them up against each other with the weigh-ins. We'll see there, but they're very close in size. So I would actually give the advantage to Charles on the ground. However, if it gets there, Tony, he's willing to fight anywhere. He's willing to fight off his back. However, with the submission game of Charles, please don't try him. Let's not take those risks. I think you'll be better on the feet. Charles Oliveira, he does have a stand-up game. He's extremely well-rounded. Who's going to be faster? Charles might have quicker hands. Although I'm not quite sure. We're not going to see like a traditional boxing fight here. We're going to see a lot of Muay Thai. We're going to see some kickboxing. We're going to see like cartwheel kicks and maybe some somersaults and things. Some creative things from Tony Ferguson, of course, some no-look jabs and things of that nature. So we're not going to see traditional boxing on the feet. So as far as me trying to judge who's quicker with the hands, I'm not quite sure, but it might be Charles, but I'm actually not quite sure. I know that Tony Ferguson, though, has the more diversity in his stand-up game. He's also more unique. He has the more unique angles. He's just more creative on the feet. He's got more diversity in his striking. He's got a bunch of kicks, a bunch of knees. Don't be willing to take punishment. Sometimes Tony Ferguson doesn't like to keep his hands up. Keep your hands up. Be cautious. Be safe. Either way, okay. So, again, I think this is actually going to be quite a competitive fight. I think this is going to be a really good fight. Y'all know I love me some El Cagui. So I'm picking Tony Ferguson. Now, main event, and we're seeing the UFC men's featherweight champion, which is Deiveson Figueiredo, defending his belt, or again, in about 3 weeks, 21 days, 3 weeks time, against the number one contender, Brandon Moreno, who many of us, me included, thought should have had the title shot 3 weeks ago, because he also fought about 3 weeks ago on the same card. So why he wasn't fighting Brandon in the first place, I don't know. Either way, here we have this fight, and Deiveson has a chance to actually make history if he does successfully, actually just by defending it, period, in such a short time, but especially if he can actually retain his belt. So let's go ahead and break this down. Like I said, Brandon Moreno is the number one contender. Should have had the fight anyway. He's a bit bigger than Perez that we saw. He's actually a bit bigger than Figueiredo, about 2 inches taller, 2 to 3 inch reach advantage. And I think he's actually going to be a little bit thicker too. So all around, he's a little bit bigger, but he still has amazing cardio. This is the flyweight division. They all have amazing cardio. And Deiveson, even though he's a bit smaller, actually cuts quite a bit of weight to get down there. As you see him, he's got like no body fat when he's inside that octagon. So he actually, he's the one that's had more trouble making that 125, not Brandon, even though he's the bigger fighter. So that'll be interesting there. Brandon actually has a wrestling base. He's a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but again, he's got that wrestling base. He's relentless. He is strong. He is relentless. He is more powerful than you think, although the punching power, the kicking power, the striking power, I think we're going to go ahead and give to Deiveson, who just seems to be a freak for that division. But Brandon's also powerful himself. He's got a punching power, knockout power himself in the hands for that division. He's relentless. He's going to have has to have a high offensive output, and I think he knows that. I think he's going to have much of the same I would give him much of the same advice that I gave Perez, and I think he's actually more mentally stronger and more mentally prepared to actually execute that plan. As we saw with Perez, I think he kind of tapped out of panic because Deiveson didn't really have the submission all the way there, right? So he had a neck crank, and that could hurt. He does have a tight squeeze. Don't want to take anything away from him, but I think Brandon Moreno in that same position would not tap. So I just think he's mentally more ready for this fight. He's fought a higher level of competition, and again, he's a bit bigger. So I think that he should take this to the ground. I wouldn't really want to stand with Deiveson Figueiredo, even though Figueiredo is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and has submissions. But I think Brandon's going to be a better wrestler. And he might be a bit stronger because of that wrestling base and that wrestling training. So if you get in trouble on the feet, take it to the ground. But you're going to have to fight a near perfect fight here. On the feet, you're going to have to tear apart that league leg. You have to protect yourself. You're going to have to be first. You're going to have to take the center. You're going to have to push the pace. You're going to have to be going forward. You're going to have good movement. You're going to have to fight a near perfect fight here. So, but if you get in trouble, I would say take it down to the ground. I think wrestling-wise, you might be a bit stronger. You might be able to soften him up with the ground and pound, especially early on in the fight, and go for a point victory or victory later on in the fights because you do have 5 rounds. Now, Deiveson, you got the punching power. You've got the striking power. I think you're also quicker with your hands and your striking as well. I'm kind of looking I don't know where I'm looking here on the camera. I'm new to this type of filming. I'm trying to get better here. So, Deiveson, like I said, you do have the striking power, and I think you're going to be a bit faster with your striking as well. So I like how you approached Perez. You were calm. You did not have the one punch hit a quitter. You were not searching for that. You're not chasing that. You were cold, calm, and collected. What I will say is you went for that leg lock to take him down. He ended up on top, but you ended up submitting him anyway. Don't do things like that. I would not sell out for a leg lock, especially early on in the fight against Brandon, because he's a bit bigger than you are. So you don't want to sell out for something like that early on in the fight when you're both still dry. I don't think it would end up the way that last fight did. Don't take those unnecessary risks, those type of risks, the same way you did with Perez. Brandon is a smarter fighter, and he's bigger. That matters. He's a better wrestler. That matters. So don't sell out for unnecessary leg locks or ill-advised takedowns and things of that nature. I wouldn't play around on the ground or in close quarters with Brandon Moreno. So you need to break him down. Tear apart that leg, break him down. Put together combinations. No one punch pot shotting. No looking for that one punch knockout. Put together punch kick combinations. I'm getting all tongue tied here because I'm almost done. It's actually pretty late. So fight behind that jab with your hands. Also, you can use your kicks as jabs too, because as we saw in that last fight, you got some really powerful kicks. So tear apart that legs, especially both legs. We've seen when you kick that back leg, not quite prepared for that. Also, when you kick below the knee, not quite prepared for that as well. So tear apart that leg, and then you can work on from there. I'm sticking with Deiveson Figueiredo because not only do I want him to break this record, I just think he's a super exciting champion. I think he's injected such new life and energy into the flyweight division that people are actually tuning in for it, and I'm all for that. I want him to hold this belt for a while, but I want him to have good fights. And so be careful. Brandon Moreno is no joke. But I'm sticking with the champ, Deiveson Figueiredo. So those are all my picks. I feel like this video was super long, but I don't know if it's because I'm tired, because it's like almost midnight. All right. Sticking with Figueiredo. Let me know all of your picks, any injury updates. Please look out for all my rest of my social media platforms for any additional picks, because the prelims are actually pretty stacked too. This is a great card. Please like the video if you haven't already. Please like, subscribe, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all of that. And follow me, subscribe, like, talk to me. Take care, and goodbye.